All right, today on episode 17 of The Lockdown, we welcome not just Australia's leading female MMA fighter, but female professional combat sports athlete, and hopefully and possibly our first ever Bellator champion, Arlene Angerfist Blencowe. Thank you for coming on the show, Arlene.
Hi, thanks for having me.
What have you been up to? Corona. It's you living out in Penrith, is that right?
Yeah. Jordan Springs. Just training, keeping busy. Trying to find the good in this situation, I guess. I'm usually pretty busy and don't get to spend much time at home. So it's nice just to be at home and live a little bit of a slower paced life. I was actually in America a few weeks ago, about a month ago now actually, training, and had to fly home, cut that trip a bit short because I wasn't sure if I would be stuck over there. So I actually spent 14 days in isolation in my house where I couldn't leave and I didn't have anyone with me. So, yeah, I just learned to enjoy some time by myself and make the most of training. And, yeah, like I said.
How many kids do you have?
I've got two kids. My daughter, Kayla, she's 19. She actually, she's not at home anymore. She's down in Wollongong for uni. And my son, Jan, he's 12.
So you got a 12-year-old son at home with you 24 hours?
He's shared care between both me and his dad. So,
but
yeah.
it's still a massive headache at home. I've got the kids at home as well, and I've got a third-story balcony. I feel like throwing them off every day. It's a testing period, put it that way.
I actually enjoy his age now. He's 12, but I say it to all my friends that are raising sons. It's like the first 10 years you just want to give them away, but once he turned 10 he sort of settled down, and he's a good kid. He's good to be around now, so he's always been good to be around, but he was a handful.
What have you been doing for training? I saw a couple of videos. You're on, just obviously doing some free training on the basketball courts or netball courts, just natural body stuff. Have you been able to do anything else, like let's say have you got weights at home, or what else have you been doing?
I've got a good full garage set up with heaps of equipment, but I've actually been utilising James Tahuna's online sessions.
Yes.
James is my head trainer, and he's released online training at Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at 6:30.
Yeah.
Which is open to the public, but I've been jumping in on those sessions, and then I team it up with my strength and conditioning that I do 3 days a week. So my trainer, Mia's provided training that I can do here at home based around the equipment I have access to. So, I'll put those two sessions together, and that's like one session there for, Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning. A lot of running. So once I got out of quarantine and being locked in my house for 2 weeks, I couldn't wait just to get out and get some Ks in under the legs.
How do you reckon? I know you're trying to keep as fit as possible, and I've asked this to a couple of athletes, a couple of NRL boys have been on this lately. Where do you see yourself at a percentage-wise to where you can be if there was no restrictions?
I think I'm still pretty fit, to be honest. I've been really pushing myself, and so I'm wearing altitude masks in training, and I'm good at pushing myself anyway. Even trying to when I'm doing say shuttle runs, working against the clock. So I might be training by myself, but I'm pushing myself to. Apart from the fact that I'm not getting in any of the sparring and the hard wrestling rounds and just that grueling fight training.
Yeah.
I think once that starts back, it wouldn't take me long to get back up. But I'd like to think that my fitness is sort of still pretty much up there. And if anything, the benefit that my body's getting from having the rest, from not having to, go through those, because obviously wrestling's quite taxing on your body, and then the sparring with the head contact and body contact, and I'm trying to think that there's some positives coming out of having a bit more of a relaxed training schedule.
It's as we discussed earlier before we started the recording. I guess you said it perfectly. Maybe the rest that you've been given, because you started boxing in 2012. You got ready for the 2012 Olympic trials. When did you start boxing, amateur boxing?
2009. I had my first boxing fight in March 2009.
How old were you? So you would have been 27, 26?
26, yeah. So I was a month off. I was almost 27. So.
All right. So how much time off have you had, do you believe, in that 11 or 12 years? If you accumulated all the time off, what do you reckon? A year?
Oh, not really. I like to stay pretty active. The most time I've had off would have been after my first Bellator World title shot back in 2017.
Yeah.
That was December. I lost that by decision. Went through a few little mental hurdles, second guessing myself whether or not I sort of wanted to keep fighting. Just sort of head miles with being silly, I guess. Not.
Yeah. Oh, we'll go over that because I've went over your videos and some pretty dubious decisions. But look, it's sometimes it makes you stronger and gives you bigger opportunities. And you know that you're old enough, you've been there, done that, so you probably know that as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. Everything, I believe everything happens for a reason in life too. So I just I'm glad everything has happened the way it's happened. It's happened for a reason, and it's brought me into this position that I'm in right now.
You're a single mother of one, as you were explaining, right? Oh, well, one at home. You got 2 kids.
I'm not a single mother now. I was back when I first started. No,
you got a partner?
Yeah. We've been together for 5 years now. So
okay. So the question is, like you go away on camps, and unfortunately you have to, especially. I spoke to Lucas Brown the other day, and he's a heavyweight. His biggest issue is getting good sparring in Australia. Now, being such a standout female athlete in your combat sports profession, there's not many girls that you could probably get in the constantly get sparring from that would be good enough to get you to the next level. Like we'll talk about this at the end. You're possibly fighting Cris Cyborg. Now, there's probably no more scary and frightening fighter in the world. So you need the best sparring, you need the best training, the best camps, and unfortunately, you won't be able to do that in Australia. How do you cope with being away from your 12-year-old boy for long periods of time when you have to go on these camps?
Well, I'm lucky now. I haven't had to like I said, I just came back from America. That was just to go over and train at Jackson's and see what I'm doing with my next fight camp. I went to Tiger Muay Thai back in 2008, but I have been pretty lucky in saying that I don't travel as much for my training. My last 3 fights, I've actually done my camps here in Australia.
Yeah.
Been lucky to find a group of girls that have been around my weight that specialise in different components of martial arts. So I've got Commonwealth Games wrestlers that are in my weight division. I've got Muay Thai fighters. I've got Olympic boxers that I can spar. So without it being sort of MMA fighters, I'm getting each sort of skill, and sometimes in sparring sessions we'll get the group of girls together, and in a 5-minute round I'll spend 2 minutes of hard wrestling, and then I'll jump up and I'll be Muay Thai sparring, and then I go back to then doing pad weight. So you mix it up. Then I'm down on the ground doing jiu-jitsu, and then back up to wrestling. So I feel like the last 3 fights I've been really settled because I feel like I've had very thorough camps. I sort of came under Jamie's wing then too. In my corner, and obviously having someone with his experience, knowledge. I just feel like I'm in a really good place with everything at the moment. You're right though, like Cris Cyborg, is a big fight. So like with her, it'll just be a matter of just getting some good, tough, hard sparring rounds in with guys because she's pretty much a guy. And
she's a freak. She's very good.
Yeah, up until, like I said, these past 3 fights previously, I mean, my sparring partners were all just guys. Depending on the level they're at or their weight, they'd have to sort of take it easy. But I feel like, I'm getting some rounds in now with certain people that I can, go a little bit harder on, and I feel like I'm holding my own with them. Yeah. But, the purpose of heading over, I've just come back from a training camp with Holly Holmes, who went 5 rounds with Cris, and obviously her and her coaches came up with a good fight plan because she's, she took it to the 5 rounds and was competitive with her.
Yeah. You started boxing, you said 2009. What for? And was it the Olympic dream that really got you into it, or what was it?
It's funny because as I get older now, I'm looking at, eventually I want to release a book. I think that my story, because you said before we even started, people look at my story and I do have a good story, but I don't even feel like I've told half the story. So whenever, in the next, I guess, coming years, I'll sort of share everything, and I think that people sort of even look at the bigger picture and think, wow, like I've come so far in life. But lately I've been looking, like the other day, two of my girlfriends and training partners, we were doing an outdoor session and keeping social distancing, of course. But we were
as we do, all of us do.
We were doing a video session and doing Jamie's session, and we were doing it outdoors. And there was this little girl there with her grandfather, and she probably would have been about 6 years old. And her grandfather kept getting her to come and do runs with him, but she just sat there and she just looked at me and like the two girls that I was with, and she was just in awe, because I mean, we're all quite strong women, muscular, but I mean, we don't look like we still look like girls. And this little girl was just looking at us, and I just kept sort of looking, across at her and just sort of smiling at myself, because I just knew that we were instilling in like something in her now, like without her even realizing, that will probably carry her through to the rest of her life. Like she looked at us like we were strong, powerful women, and hopefully that's what she aspires to be when she's older. So I'm all about, I don't know, instilling those sorts of values into, like I do kids sessions at the moment. I just love that I can be that role model. And so back to answer your question, when I was a little girl, my dream was always to represent Australia, and and back then I thought, it was the Olympic Games that I wanted to be an Olympian. So I remember
in a particular sport, or just represent Australia.
Athletics was the sport that I was into when I was growing up, only because my parents didn't believe in sports outside of school. So the only sport I was allowed to play was sport inside school, because they were all about being academical. So my afternoons were always spent doing homework, weekends were doing chores, working on my parents' farm, and doing schoolwork, reading, everything like that. So when it came to sport, when I was at school, I made the most of it. And obviously when it came to athletics, carnivals and things like that, that was my go-to. So I'd always represent go to regional and then state for running. So 100 meters was my event that I excelled at. Which then obviously, like being fast runners, I played touch football growing up and this and that. But my thing was, like, when I watched NRL, like I loved watching State of Origin, and you'd see all the footy players lined up and they'd just be singing the anthem. And I don't know, just watching it growing up, it was just like I'd sit there and I'd get excited. And so I remember when I first finally started boxing, and when I first represented New South Wales, like that was a big thing for me. When I got my New South Wales vest that had New South Wales on the back, it was I loved it. It was my prized possession.
What year did you represent New South Wales in the amateurs?
When I was 26.
Was that 09?
Yeah.
Well, 08 was I was the manager and assistant trainer in 08, so I must have just missed you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in the amateurs, So there was actually, to be honest, there was no females in 08.
Yeah,
so 09 must have been the first year for him.
Yeah, so Kay Scott and Tammy Taylor were the first New South Wales boxers. And then I jumped into the equation in 2009. So, it's absolutely crazy. So, like, even from the year, when I started in 2009, like, Kay Scott and I had 9 fights, I think, because there was nobody else. Looking at how female boxing and the quality of boxers that have come through in the 10 years that I've been fighting, it's awesome.
Well, unfortunately, you're trying to make an Olympic team, and you're fighting probably if not the best female fighter we've had, amateur boxer we've had in the last 10 years. Kay Scott, you fought her to make the Olympic team, is that correct?
No. I fought, who did I fight? A girl from Perth, and Naomi. I'm
not sure.
Rasmussen, or I can never pronounce her name, but she was a good boxer back then, but I lost to her. That was the end of 2010. No, 2011. Sorry.
2011. Yeah. So you immediately said, "No, I'm turning pro." Is that right?
Yes and no. Like, I sat there and I just thought, like, obviously the plan or the dream was to be an Olympian. And then the thought of sitting around for another 4 years, just like 4 years is a long time. And then obviously for me too, I would have been 32 by then.
Yeah.
And Yeah, so it was only that an opportunity came up for a professional fight in my weight division, and then I sort of spoke to my trainer back then, and we ended up deciding to turn professional, and I had my first pro fight, and it goes from there.
Well, you ended up winning in your third fight. You won the WIBA, the Women's International Boxing Association, which look, is a pretty good belt. WF is not a bad belt, but the WIBA is a very good belt.
Yeah, it is a prestigious belt, so the Women's International Boxing Association. So the belt that I actually won from them, the light welterweight, was actually held by Holly Holmes. She vacated it, and then it became, so on the records, I'm the one that's under her name. So
well, you fought Sarah House, who I've known for years. She was a good boxer. You lost to her, but in your second fight, is that right?
Yeah. So that fight's actually on YouTube, and I was. It's funny because there's fights. I've lost quite a few fights. I don't hold a untouched record or anything, but there's certain fights that you go through, and even though I've lost, I sort of hold my head high because, that was my second professional boxing fight. And Sarah, she's no mug. She's a good boxer. You know what? When you go back and look at it, it was a quality fight. And I'm not ashamed to have lost it all because from my experience and everything back then, like I was a single mother. I had a baby that was still in nappies when I first started fighting. So I was juggling full-time work, and I'm still juggling all those things now. But life's gotten so much easier. So those early days, they were tough. And whenever I find myself sitting here now having a little whinge about being tired or things being tough, I sit back and look like the position I'm in now, financially, personally, my training, everything's so much better.
Well, you fought also Erin McGowan for the welterweight title. I actually, interesting story. 2009, I did the 1HD Channel 10 Superboxer shows.
Yeah.
And Erin was my feature event in one of them where she fought Angie Parr. And it was the first time any women's combat sport was ever shown live on Australian television. Yeah. And I was crucified for it. Why are you putting women on and blah, blah, blah. And Erin was a quality fighter, which obviously you found out in the ring with.
Yeah.
Angie was tough as nails, Angie Parr. And it was the fight of the night. Obviously, 10 years later, fast forwarding, look how far women's sports has gone on TV and how interesting it is where, to be honest, I probably like watching the women. That last Lee fight with JJ, last year. Mate, what a remarkable fight.
Male or female, it's a remarkable fight. You don't even put it in the category of being female. Like, super technical. The quality of female fights, and we all have Ronda Rousey to thank for that because she was a pioneer. Dana White. Females will never headline a card, and here we are, these years down the track. And if it wasn't for her leading the way, even boxers have got a lot to thank MMA for that.
Look, Ronda Rousey is the leader in women's sports in that transitional from it's not just in combat sports but interest in men's sports. So before rugby league was popular, rugby union was popular with men, which is very popular now. Ronda Rousey was the first female athlete that made typical old men sit at home and go, I can't wait to watch this fight. Yeah. So we have a lot to thank her for. And look, I've got a big wall on my big mural. She's unfortunately the only female fighter on there, but there's a reason because everyone on there means something to me. And having 3 daughters, Ronda Rousey's opened the world's eyes up to female sports and how tough women are. Yeah. So, mate, talking about tough. Now, you boxed for basically 4 or 5 years before you turned to MMA. How did you find that physical and mental transition from boxing to MMA? What is harder, or what kind of a difference is there, do you believe, in the two, or is it exactly the same?
Both sports are hard in their own right. You have a solid week of boxing training, your calves are burning, your arms are burning. It's a tough sport. And that for that reason is why I haven't been active in both recently. My goal was to be an active boxer and active MMA fighter and pursue fights between the two. But yeah, showing respect for the sports, it's hard. But yeah, I think like obviously MMA, there's so many different things to have to train. Like a hard week, especially with the wrestling rounds, like your body feels like a truck's hit it when you wake up in the morning. You know, every joint and limbs aching, your muscles are sore, you know, fatigued. But I don't know. I think like the MMA side of things, I really do enjoy it because I'm just learning all the time. Like I'm still learning. Well, even now, I guess you should always be learning. But I feel sometimes like with boxing, it takes like a long time, like between learning things sometimes.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, you just before you can master something. I know whereas MMA, like you can come off the mats every session, you know, because there's so many different components, especially when you break down the BJJ side of things, or it's interesting. The MMA training, it keeps you, fresh.
Well, the sport of MMA is so relatively new still. It's, you know, everyone forgets that realistically only started in the late 90s, really. So the sport is evolving every day, whereas boxing's been around competitively for 150 years. And there is a sweet science, but basically the rules have been the same for 150 years of that development. So, yeah, there's new things you learn, but in MMA, there's new things every week. There's new techniques, different strengths you can work on. And there's so much more variety because you can go to the ground, because you can kick, because you can elbow, because you can knee. So I find MMA is more physically taxing personally. Because I'm an old man, I'm 110 kilos, 105 kilos, so I don't like the feeling of the up downs and the rolls and the all that explosive stuff. I love it, but it just doesn't go well with my body. But when you box, it's a different mental game because it's a lot longer, a lot more repetitive. You know, you have to stay focused a lot more. It's a bit very lonely. Boxing's a very lonely sport. Whereas, you know, MMA is a lot more partner work, and you need someone to wrestle with. You need someone to do your drills with sometimes. You switched to MMA in 2013. How come? Why the transition to MMA?
2012, I think, was it? Oh no, 2013. Just because. So, as an amateur boxer, I was pretty active all the time. Like, I mean, I'd be fighting every month, and sometimes tournaments you'd be fighting 3 days in a row. And then, there was a couple of months there where I was fighting 3 weekends in a row. You do Golden Gloves, and then you come back and you'd fight on a fight show, and then so I was just active. Flying down to the AIS and at fight camps, and being around the groups of girls, and representing New South Wales. So I just feel like there was always something to aim for. You knew what was happening. The state titles were this month, Golden Gloves were this month. Arafura Games, but I had that first professional boxing fight, and then. First professional boxing fight, and then I think I'd had the fight with Sarah, and then nothing had happened after that. It was because there wasn't really that many active girls, and I was sort of just training, and it's hard to keep that level. Like, even now, I always like to say somewhat ready. So I like to say to sort of about 75%, especially now. Like I, thought for sure I wasn't going to be fighting this year with everything that's going on, but then my manager, sent me an email the other day, and I was sort of like, okay, keep staying ready, because we don't know what's happening at the end of the year. So he'd heard from Bellator, and they're just sort of so I like, when I get news, I like to be somewhat fit, because there's nothing worse than you're sitting on the lounge with a bag of chips, and you've been binge watching something, and you're lazy, and you put on a bit of weight, and next minute you get this email saying, oh, you've got a fight in 10 weeks time.
Yes.
You don't want that first thing. I know I don't. Other people might, but for me, whenever I get some sort of exciting news, I want to be somewhat ready, so that way the first thought I have is a positive thought, rather than, oh shit, I'm so unfit right now. I like to be ready, stay ready sort of all year round. When you don't have any news sort of coming up, it's hard to, 10 years ago it was hard for me to know how to
stay motivated.
Whereas these days now, I mean, this is a lifestyle for me now, and it's something that I sort of talk about with my partner. My fight career will only have a few more years left of it, so I have to start thinking about life after fighting. And I feel like that's sorry, I've just jumped from one subject to the next, but
that's all right, that's fine.
after fighting, I feel like a lot of professional athletes don't or aren't suitably set up for that. Because, yeah, in any instant, especially these NRL players, your career, and it happened to my partner, he was a professional soccer player, and this is why I'm lucky that this is something that's sort of brought to my attention, is that, yeah, at any given time, your career can be taken from underneath you, and you need to be somewhat ready. So backup plans. So I have my backup plan. I have my, ideas set in place. If, say something bad was to happen and I, end up, I've just had plans set in place so that I'm not stuck, and then therefore, emotionally and mentally find myself in a bit of a rut.
That's a great mentality to have. But do you think, and I say this respectfully because me and you are the same age, do you think age and experience actually adds to that? And like, would you have thought that 10 years ago to have a plan in place? And
100%.
Not a chance, right? Yeah.
That's the older I'm getting, because I only just turned 37 a couple of weeks ago.
Happy birthday for 2 weeks ago, yeah. I saw that.
I feel like, obviously maturity is such a great thing, isn't it? The wisdom that you get with it. But I think and the position that I find myself in now that I'm becoming a little bit more influential, and people sort of start paying attention to what I say and this and that. So it's like, okay, I've got an important role here, and I feel like it's something that should be spoken to with younger people, younger athletes coming through. I've got a handful of girls that I'm training with, and they look up to me. And obviously I've got, 10 years worth of it. I've been through everything you can possibly be through in the fight game. So sharing that with them. So, again, after fighting, that would be something that I'm looking at getting into, and hopefully managing some fighters, and sharing what I've experienced so that they don't have to experience it, and setting themselves up for having things outside of fighting, so that you're not just engulfed in fighting. You got to have other hobbies outside of it, so you can sort of take your mind away from it. Setting some
it ends one day. That's what people don't understand. I say to all fighters, your career's going to end one day. There's going to be one day when you meet your match, or you meet the person that's just a little bit better and a little bit stronger and faster, and you've gotten slower. It's happened to Mike Tyson. It's happened to Muhammad Ali. It's happened to Chuck Liddell. You pick it, it's happened to. So it's guaranteed to happen. So it's a great mentality, and hopefully you can instill that into being a father of 3 daughters, 2-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 17-year-old. I'd love people like yourself to be around more young females to guide them and put them in the right direction, show them the life that they don't see on the other side. Everyone wants to be a superstar, but fuck, it takes so much to deal with outside of the sport to become that superstar. You don't just do it by training hard. There's so much more involved. Go ahead, sorry.
Even the whole concept of being a superstar, I feel like there's just too much involved at the moment, with everyone thinking that it's just got to be this perfect life. Like, one of the things I'm starting to try and share a little bit more is my personal life, and just being, I guess, normal. There's nothing like, everyone wants to be this superstar, but turn it back down a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with just being a normal person living a normal life. Like, fame isn't as big as a deal at the end of the day. And this sort of pandemic at the moment, look, we're all stuck at home with our loved ones, and the most important people in the world is your family. Like, everybody else out there, like, you should, I guess I'll probably try and word that the right way. Maybe I'll touch on that one next podcast.
No, but I get what you're saying. But again, us old farts talk like that, and the young ones go, whatever the fuck you're on about, whatever. It's that 1 in 10 that will listen to us that will become the true champion, believe me. Man, you went from boxing to MMA. You got some pretty nifty hands. I actually like your style. You're a real bouncy southpaw. You love to sit on the balls of your feet. How did you find that? Look, I've done it before. I have a wrestling background. Then I went into boxing and kickboxing, and went back to mucking around with Dewey and stuff. How did you get your wrestling game up to scratch ASAP? Like, you knew probably the first fight going, oh fuck, you can learn a takedown defense, that's fine, but they're going to crack you sometime. What did you do to learn your ground game? Like, what was your main focus in the initial stages of your MMA career?
to be fair, we always watched. Obviously, it was takedown defense because we knew that anybody getting in with me wasn't going to sit there and stand and trade. Everyone they were going to, you do pre-fight interviews and like I would stand and sort of have that little giggle and think, oh yeah, you're not. But to be fair, I didn't put the hard yards in as much as I should have in the early days. It was scraping the surface. I thought I was doing what needed to be done, and obviously, my coaches at the time, we were doing what we thought needed to be done. But looking at what I do now, as opposed to back then, but it's only really been sort of the last, sort of 3 years that I've been, 3.5 years that I've really knuckled down with my wrestling training. And it's up there. Like, so obviously boxing's been my bread and butter, and it's my focus every week is to make sure that I've always got good hands, but wrestling is up there too. That is my focus. They're the two things that I focus on the most in my training week is my wrestling and my striking. Because at the end of the day, if your wrestling's pretty sweet, they're not going to take you to the ground. And also I find that the better my wrestling's got, the more confident I can get with knowing I can back my hands. Those early days I was so tentative. I was too scared to be in the pocket because I'd be worried about getting taken down. Whereas now I can sit in the pocket, even if they touch me or grab me. I know the boundaries of when I'm in trouble or when I can sort of push it a little bit more and let a few more strikes off. And it's been hard work though. Don't get me wrong. I think. I've never been shy of hard work. I've always, trained really hard and stuff. But I didn't like wrestling when I first started at all.
You're like Jamie's obviously on your team. I've seen you with the big silverback John Pedro a few times as well.
Yeah.
Are these guys your wrestling coaches, or have you got a wrestling coach or a BJJ coach?
Yeah.
Because Jamie's fucking beautiful wrestling. He's very good technically at his wrestling, and obviously, I know how heavily involved John is with you, Pedro. And
Tyson.
He's a pioneer in the game. Yeah.
There'll never be a moment. So, like both Tyson and Pedro, if they're on the mats, if I'm training, not even doing a training session with them, they'll literally always just grab me, and there won't ever be a time that I won't walk off the mats without them giving me some piece of valuable knowledge. I was even at the gym, so we all train at the same strength and conditioning gym at Ethos Performance in Rhodes, and so I'm doing strength and conditioning, wasn't even doing fight training, and John's actually cornered one of my fights, so one of the ones that was really good, the weigh-in face off with the opponent, we were like forehead to forehead. She was a bit of a weird one, that chick, but I ended up winning that fight by sort of dumping and doing a Rampage Jackson on her. So Pedro came over for that fight. But so we were at the gym doing strength and conditioning. He pulled me to the side and just started giving me some tips on creating angles, like coming off like wrestling angles, and then obviously striking. So whenever they do that, I always feel super lucky because those sorts bits of knowledge are worth their weight in gold.
Yeah, but like you said, Jamie, that ground and pound style used to be his bread and butter. Because he's a really good boxer as well. People don't understand how good of a boxer he was. Probably could have made it in the Australian pro ranks and won the Australian title. That's how good he was.
Yeah.
But his MMA, his ground and pound style was fucking immaculate. Great wrestler.
Yeah, I feel like Jamie's style complements my style, as in, he was just super tough too. So, obviously hearing the stories of him, like when he fought, like injuries that he'd carry or like going into, and even that video he posted not long ago where his shoulders
put the arm back in.
So I sit there I've carried a few injuries the last few fights. Like my last fight, I rolled my ankle. Funny story. I was at the correctional centre doing a motivational talk with the boys at Cobham Correctional Centre.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, obviously they listen to me, they're good, but at the end they just want to play a game of touch football. They're like, oh, miss, can we play? And I was like, all right. Well, they had odd numbers, so I was like, all right, I'll jump on the wing just to even it up. I was literally checking numbers. I wasn't even playing, and I don't even know how I rolled. I tripped over one of the kids' feet, rolled my ankle, was laying flat on my back, and I had all the boys around going, "Are you okay, miss?" And it ripped the tendon off my, it swelled right up. But I think what made it worse was I had sparring that afternoon, and it was hard sparring. It was Jamie had organised one of the boys to come in and push me and give me some hard rounds and pressure me like my opponent was going to. So because Jamie had organised it too, so I was like, "Oh, I've got to spar. I can't really say, oh, sorry, I'm injured." I was kicking with his foot. Anyway, the next day I couldn't walk on it, but it turned out that I completely ripped the tendon off the bone, and it was a bit of floating bone in it. Anyway, so kept going through fight camp, and I was a little bit of a sook about it, but it wasn't until we were over for my fight that we were sitting there having lunch or dinner or something, and Jamie had started rattling off all the injuries that he'd had through fighting. He'd go off for a sparring round, he'd come back and his finger would be this way and that, and going through all of them, and I was sitting there, I was like, "Oh, remind me not to whinge about any of my
I've known Jamie for a good 12 years. I don't think he's ever walked into a fight near 100%. He's always had something wrong with him, always, every time.
Super tough. So, which is good for me because, that's how you have to be. You're always going to be sore, but there's no point sitting there dwelling over it. So,
well,
make it tough.
You got to Bellator in 2015. You've had 10 fights in Bellator, which is, I love Bellator because it's a bit more rougher. I like the fact you can strike on the ground and kick him and shit. I don't mind that stuff. You've had 10 fights, close to 10 fights in Bellator. You've lost to two people. Twice was to the same person.
Yep.
One was a world title fight. Both of those fights, I watched them last night. It could have went any way. I understand the first fight. The score, maybe. The second fight, as a champion, you took the fight to the champion. What was we spoke about this off the camera? I think off the camera. Yeah. How did you feel come off that second fight? You lost a world title shot to possibly become, would have been Australia's first ever Bellator champion. After UFC, Bellator and One FC probably exactly the same in my eyes. It's a great organisation. It's a great stepping stone for you to become a social star here, a sports social star here. How did you feel? How did you come off, and how did you deal with those demons post-fight? Did you walk in the gym next day and go, "Oh, well, you know what? I'm gonna fucking show these people," or did you have a bit of time off and start questioning yourself?
Yeah, well, normally, win or lose, I'm straight back in the gym. But that fight, I feel like I didn't prepare myself. So I was fighting for the Bellator World title. But that whole fight camp, I sort of downplayed it a little bit because I was in my head thinking, well, every fight I train like it's a world title fight. I put in 100%. I can't possibly put in any more in any of my other fight camps than I would this fight camp. So nothing else really changes. That's how my mentality's always been. Every fight I give it 100%, like it is a world title fight. But so I just sort of downplayed it. I didn't really do that many interviews. To be fair, this last 3 weeks, I've done the most podcasts I have in my whole career. But there wasn't really that much hype around it as such. Obviously, my close people, there was hype, but I mean, in the sense of I was going over to represent Australia and fight for the Bellator World title. It wasn't, I wasn't in the newspapers, or I was obviously in the local Penrith paper and that, but it wasn't a big thing. And then literally I was hitting pads, getting warmed up, ready to go out, and then when they called my name, I literally felt the energy drain from head to toe, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks, even to the sense I've had a heap of fights now, and I've got a routine of you go out to your fight. Obviously, they put your mouth guard in, they bash you up, then you give each of your corners a hug. You see it all the time in the MMA fights. Routine. I know the routine. Even actually rewind back a little bit, when you go for a walk out to your song, you stand there, And even all fight camp, I'll pick my fight song and I'll listen to it in training, in the car, this and that. And there'll always be a point in the song, and then I'm like, all right, that's a point there where I'll walk out. So yeah, I walked out before the song had even started playing, before the lights were even shining on me, to walk into the cage without giving my corner a hug. So yeah, like I just completely lost it in the head. And then the first round of that fight, obviously Julie is a wrestler and she fights the same style every fight, which is bully her opponent to the cage closest to her corner, so she can obviously hear her corner cueing in at her. And the first round, which obviously we're both fresh, it was a hard round. She's a strong girl. I wrestled guys.
Fucking built like an ox. She's got abs the size of my fist. Yeah, she's huge.
Yeah. She's physically strong too. Like I wrestle guys and I know guy strength, but she's got a different strength. So, you know, if obviously Cyborg's got a strength like hers, that's something else I'm preparing for at the moment as well mentally. But yeah, that first round, it was a hard round, and I think she might have got me down at the end, just at the very end of the round. But I sort of went back to my corner. I was like, shit, got another 4 rounds of this. So just mentally I was in the wrong place. But then, in hindsight, looking back at it now, I was in the wrong place mentally and I still almost beat her and only lost by decision. So imagine when I'm switched on. So that's been another focus since then, is making sure that I'm switched on. So the fact that I, only lost by split decision when I completely wasn't there is something that I need to applaud myself on. But the biggest thing I took from that fight, obviously losing, was I was disappointed in myself that it was a 5-round fight. I even had Tyson in the corner, like absolutely screaming at him, because the person that I am, like, and this next fight with Cyborg, you've got to carry me out on a stretcher. That's it. That's the effort that I'm going to, and that's it. And this is, and I'm hashtagging at the moment, it's all or nothing, because at the age of 37, it's highly unlikely I probably will get another title shot if I bum this one. Because the process of I've won 3 back-to-back fights since losing my last one, and I knew that was what was going to have to happen before I get this next shot. But,
is the Cyborg fight guaranteed? Has it been signed?
Nothing's been signed, but we've had obviously a few conversations back and forward. It's it's.
You beat, like, your last fight. You beat Leslie Smith, who's a past UFC star, but. Yeah, like she can fight. She's a tough mother, and you had a tough fight, but you beat her pretty convincingly.
Yeah, not in her eyes, but
no, I'm very honest. You beat her very convincingly. It wasn't like, it was a tough fight. She walks forward. She's much larger than you, but in saying that, Cyborg, no surprises, blew fucking Julia Budd away. Just beat her to a pulp. What you said about her wrestling and her strength, about moving forward, you can't move forward on Cris Cyborg. She's too smart, very good on that little. When you close the gap on her, she's too smart on that inside fighting. She's really good with that stuff. But
I think with Cyborg, that where Julia went wrong with Cyborg, she didn't throw anything with intent. It was more of a she was trying to be defensive with her strikes, like. She wasn't committing to, especially those push kicks that were she was getting counted on. Like she was doing a leg kick, and, Cyborg was just countering with that straight right every time. But like I said it a long time before, Cyborg and Amanda Nunes fought, that someone's just got to stand there and go with her. Like, and that's exactly what Amanda did. Like, you got to put something back in her face, and I'm not scared at the end of the day. Like, the reason I started fighting was because I was a scrapper. Like, I just, the old me, that's what I've got to bring. That's the thing, 10 years of fighting and maturity, and that's for maybe a little bit nicer and this and that. But, I guess once you get me in the cage, you hit me, I'm going to hit you back. That's what's going to happen. So
well, your style kind of look. It's funny because it works against you, but it works for you too. Her strength is her low kicking Thai style, beautiful elbows, nice knees, low kicks. One problem she does have is she doesn't punch straight down the pipe, right?
Wow, yeah.
So her, in my opinion, how to beat her is to go straight down the pipe.
Yeah.
And that's what Amanda Nunes did. She went straight down the center. She's a little, like, Cyborg likes to put her elbows out when she's punching, and a real boxer goes straight down the middle. What is it? What do you believe is going to be your game plan? Well, you kind of answered it. Is it are you going to play smart with her and play offensively, or try drag her in a counter punch, or you're just going to go Amanda Nunes on her ass and just go straight down the center and fucking pump her? Because look, she can fight, but we've seen it. She can be beat too. So and your style can bring that kind of a victory.
Yeah. I think it's a matter of just being like smart and aggressive at the same time. I was doing something this morning in my training session. I was doing a pad session this morning, and we were sort of mimicking the first minute of the fight where you walk out and how you start. Because obviously, who pushes first, who punches first. And I got caught out a couple of times with something that I did, and I was just like, okay. So I wasn't even thinking, but I'm going to put it on her and just let her know. Like you need to put that initial fear in her, because she reminds me of me. If she smells blood, she smells fear. It makes you hungry, and you see that. But then if you're getting hit and you felt pain, it kind of makes you think a little bit. So that first minute of the fight is going to be very important, and obviously for me, I've just got to make sure that I rock up to the fight super fit, switched on, and give it everything.
Don't leave any questions in your mind, no doubts. Make sure every little bit has been put in, all your work has been done.
I think that everything that I've learned over the last, it's 11 years now, has led me to this. Like all the wins and the losses, the lessons, the injuries, the fact that I lost that world title, and I said it in a few interviews before, like 2017, I fought for the world title, but I don't think I was ready to be a world champion back then. As in, obviously I've been a boxing world champion, but I feel like where I'm at in life at the moment, like for me to be the Bellator World Champion, I can take it so much further than just being the world champion. With obviously teaching people other things and just being that role model and just having that voice, and obviously having that world title belt over my shoulder to obviously back me up with that.
Well, I like to say to the fighters, one job at a time, right? So don't think too far ahead. But I also like aspirations. Now, you walk away, you're walking into that fight, and I hope this is how you're walking in. You're walking away with that fucking belt around your waist, right? That's how you should be walking, the mentality.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's just natural for a human being to think further than that. Is UFC an option that you'd look at in future, or are you happy to stay with Bellator, knowing that they've given you an opportunity and it is a world-recognized brand?
Yeah, no, I think that the UFC boat sailed now. I did consider it. This is my third contract with Bellator, so between contract 1 and 2, there was an opportunity there to go over. There was obviously when they did the featherweight and the heavyweight house. That opportunity, and there was another one. But I think that at the moment, like again, looking back at my journey and everything happens for a reason. I don't know. Must be this newfound thing, maturity. I just sort of but and I've said this back at the beginning. My record when I first signed with Bellator was 5 wins, 4 losses. They gave me a shot, and when other promotions wouldn't, that time I did try and push for the UFC, they told me to come go and get 2 more back-to-back wins, which I went and did. I got 2 back-to-back TKO wins, and that still wasn't enough for them. And just looking at the relationship that I have with Bellator, I've been in contact with people of Bellator during this pandemic now, just to make sure that they're okay, not even on the level of anything to do with fight sense. It's just that we are like a family, and they do look after you. And I'm happy there. And you know what? Like there was always this thing of needing to go to the UFC to chase fighters. Like obviously the Cyborg fight's always been the fight from the beginning. And you know what? Yeah. I stayed with Bellator and I stayed on my path. I stayed loyal to this promotion, and now look, she's over here with Bellator, and so I'm glad that I didn't do something that was going to be against what I believed in.
But let's be honest. If again, I'm rooting for you, and I hope your mentality is 100%. Yeah, I'm walking out there with the belt. You put Cris Cyborg on their ass, and the world, not the UFC world or the Bellator world, the whole MMA world is going to want to see you and Nunez, and that's going to be the dilemma that everyone possesses, because we're not talking about a fight where you make, and we'll go into this in a sec, but you're not making 10, 20, 30 grand. You're walking into a fight with Nunez, and if you're beating Cyborg and making some major dollars that could probably set you up for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's the stuff you got to look at.
Oh,
you're getting your head punched in. You got to get paid. That's the way it works.
Oh, for sure. And it's like I've come from, back when it was just me and the kids. We were doing it tough there for quite some time. So I know what it's like to have nothing, and I'm very grateful at the moment to be in the position that I am. For sure. I'll be taking this opportunity and the couple that follow after it for everything I can, because I've worked hard for it. It's not like it's just been handed to me on a silver plate. Like I've, sacrificed a lot. There's been, a lot of hard work. My family's had to sacrifice a lot. I spent a lot of time in the gym when I could be at home with them, and it's obviously paid off though, because I feel my kids have both developed a sense of what hard work is, and I can see that the values that have both been instilled in them. My son's a soccer player, and then my daughter, she's a uni student. They both excel in their passions, but they both know how to work hard, and the highs and lows that are involved in it too. Nothing's ever a smooth sailing. So, but yeah, no, for sure. I think that, I've got a plan of what the next sort of 5 years hopefully will look like. But yeah, if that's not the right word. When we can say when. I've got all the cards in my hand. I don't need to be chasing, Nunez for a fight. Like she should be wanting to come to me. It's I'm not chasing, and this is me, putting myself up on a pedestal now, and it's not a matter of me chasing people anymore and thinking that anyone's. So I'll hold the cards in my hand, and that's up to. Maybe Nunez and I could meet halfway and go over and fight on the card.
Let's hope that happens, because you see Golden Boy and Top Rank work together, and everyone else works. Maybe you just never know these days.
Well,
let's hope he gets to that point.
Always about what the fans want. If everyone sort of pipes up and asks for it enough, there's if there's enough interest in it. But I think even Nunez, that last fight that she had with Jermaine. She showed that she's even obviously she's lost fights before. She had close fights with Shevchenko. Everyone's beatable. Anyone, even just listening to sort of personal stories of other professional fighters. And there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. Nunez is about to be a parent. There's heaps of things. Cyborg might have stuff going on. She might not rock up on 100% herself. There's always things that affect fighters, and it's whoever shows up on the night. It's a fight game. All it takes.
What's been the hardest part about being a female in a male-dominated sport? I know it's gotten better. It's nowhere near as good as what it should be, considering how much interest it collects now. What's the biggest problems you come across, especially in Australia, trying to get a profile out here in this country? You said, I'm representing my country, I'm fighting for a world title, and no one really cared. No one got involved. What is the biggest problems you come across?
Obviously, I still work a full-time job. I actually work some side jobs too as a personal trainer. So the fact that I'm juggling all of that, sponsorship probably would have been one of the things. But I don't know if that's so much being a female in sport. I think just in general, sometimes fighting has a bit of a negative stigma. And people don't like to get involved with wanting to sponsor it. But to be fair, I think I've had a pretty good run. I know it is a male-dominant sport. I'm actually in the male-dominant industry with my career as well. I'm actually the only female in my job in New South Wales.
What do you do for work? Sorry.
I do quality assurance for Coca-Cola.
Okay, cool.
There's only 2 other QAs, and they're both male.
So you drink Coke? You drink Coke for a living? To make sure it's all right.
Actually, I don't.
That's Pedro's dream job.
No, I don't drink Coke. I do actually sparkling mineral water. I do a lot of that. Yeah, in saying that though, I do have a pretty cruisy job. Like I spend most of my time out on the road driving, which can be like tiring. But I mean, it's not. It beats sitting in an office in front of a computer in the same office every day, day in and day out. So yeah. I'm not complaining.
Do you think they have to get the media should have more of a obligation towards helping female sports in your industry? Like, considering how much interest we are getting for UFC right now or MMA stars, you being the leading female combat sports athlete in this country, that's not by a bit, that's by a mile. Do you think the papers and the media should be getting behind you a little bit more? I know it's easy for you to say that, and it sounds like, it is me personally, but do you think they should be doing more to get behind the women in this sport?
I think so. I think so, just because that way it can give more awareness to the sport too. Because, like I said, there is so much stigma around fighting. I think that obviously, if people saw more females doing it, they'd realise that it's not such a barbaric sport. It's I think it comes down to like, I mean, for me, I probably haven't done the right thing with managing and marketing myself. I'm getting better with it now. Like I said, this is probably this last few weeks is the most podcasts I've done. Previously, like, I mean, obviously talking, which is funny because me outside of talking about my fighting, I'm pretty quiet and withdrawn. But yeah, get me on the subject of talking about my fighting. I can talk all day. It's hard because. If you don't have like obviously you manager behind you trying to push for more stories, or if you're not big on your social media following, it is kind of hard to get the word out there. But I think,
mate, Nick Walsh, I know you listen to this. You should put more articles, mate. You need to help her out a bit more, please. Nick Walsh needs to do more work for you. I think he's the MMA bloke.
I think, like for me, the only reason, like I am trying to build my following at the moment, and it's not for my own personal gain, because I only put a post up the other day. Like, I don't want hundreds of thousands of followers for the sake of having that number, because I've got good supportive followers for the sense that I don't have, trash talk on my page. I don't have people sending me messages and this and that. Like, I've got good, genuine followers, but I do want to build my base and my following for life after fighting, for the things that I want to be pursuing after fighting, and that requires having a big following. So, Well,
it seems like you've got a message you want to pass on too, which, again, as a father, it's something that's important. Our kids should be listening to people like yourself that have been there, done that, and your old war stories are something that can really make them stronger in the future. So hopefully you get the right platforms in the future, and I'll push for you as well as a couple of people I know. Jamie will tell me all about it. I'll twist some arms and we'll get some. We'll get a good build up for this next Cyborg fight, so you can come home with a title and get known for it.
Yeah.
Arlene, we're at the end of the show now. We have the 1 minute wonder. Okay, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Just answer the questions with the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay.
Okay.
The best. It's all good. It's all pretty good. It's all clean. The best fighter you fought against.
Pardon?
The best fighter you fought against.
Erin McGowan.
Oh yeah, she's awesome. The best fighter you've sparred with.
Holly Holmes.
The toughest fighter you fought against.
Leslie Smith.
Yeah, she's tough. It was a good fight. That was good to watch, actually. The dirtiest fighter you fought against.
Dirtiest.
There's got to be one grub in there, right?
Oh. Actually, this is a really hard one to answer. I don't know if you want to pause the timer or something. There's only been two fighters that I haven't actually become friends with after I fought them. Because I feel like this. I feel like because female sports are, we are a unique type of people, that I tend to become friends with them afterwards, because we are unique. Except for two, but I don't really want to say because I don't want to cause beef. I'm so not a controversial.
Yeah, I'm just shit stirring, so I just try to start problems.
But I think this is the dirty, but Sinead Kavanagh from Conor McGregor's gym, we had an awesome scrap in boxing gloves. In MMA gloves, but turned into a boxing fight. Yeah. So yeah, we had a good little brawl. So not that I think she's the dirtiest, but I just a good.
We'll push that point, no worries. The fighter you're happy you never fought. Is there one fighter you're happy you never fought? You're like, oh, thank fuck I missed her.
Nah, I want to fight everyone.
That's such a good mentality. Good girl. Who's the best pound for pound fighter in the world, male or female? MMA.
Valentina Shevchenko.
Oh, it's going to answer my next question then. Who wins, Shevchenko or Nunez? In a dream fight at the right weight.
Yeah, 100% Shevchenko. She's just so well-rounded.
She looks so good right now, doesn't she? Yeah, she looks really, really neat. Very neat fighter.
Oh, yeah. Everything's so precise. I don't see her being beaten in a very long time. Actually, I would like to see her and Wiley fight. I think, yes. Yeah, because I wasn't too sure how she was going to go with JJ. Like, obviously, you see her work ethic. I follow her. She was undefeated, but it's all good to be undefeated when you haven't really been tested against the top. But yeah, her and JJ, far out. That's that fight.
Who's the most overrated fighter in your opinion? I'm not trying to start fights or anything. I'm just asking. You got a strong corner. You go with Jamie and Tyson. Come on, they'll back you up. Don't worry, you're sweet. We'll win the street fight. Don't worry, we'll win the street fight.
I know what came to my mind there, but I honestly can't.
Yeah, no one answers it. I promise you, no one answers it. All right, what's the greatest fight you've ever seen? MMA.
Yeah, JJ and Wiley. 100%.
Yeah, I'm up there as well. That's easy top three, probably the best. Yeah. All right, who wins if it finally ever fucking happens? Khabib or Ferguson?
Khabib.
Yes, same as me. I think the same.
I rate.
He's just a different class, and everyone talks about Ferguson on his back. Khabib doesn't, bring you to your back at that high rate. He takes you by your feet and he stays low on you. So it's very hard to counter that.
Oh, like he's just one of the, when you're wrestling and, you're grinding away and you're trying to, he's just one step ahead of you and you're just defending the whole time. Like, yeah, he's another fighter that I really, really like. I enjoy watching his style and Shevchenko's style.
He's a class athlete.
Yeah.
But Shevchenko's so neat. It's like I told you, Cyborg's chink in the armor is maybe her wide punches.
Yeah.
Shevchenko hasn't got that drama. She just straight down. Everything is straight down the pipe. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right, Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua?
Anthony Joshua.
Oh, I wouldn't have bloody Anthony Joshua. You just it's because he's tall, dark, and handsome. Be honest. All right. Do you follow boxing at the moment? Female boxing?
Yes and no. To be honest, I don't watch too many fights. Yeah.
Have you seen Clarissa Shields fight?
Oh yes.
So who do you reckon her out of her and Layla Ali?
Oh, this is. Do you follow?
Let's say at light middle. Layla's best fights are at that heavyweight. Let's say halfway, light middle. Do
you follow these two on Instagram?
Oh no, I don't. I think Clarissa talks so much fucking smack. She's a great fighter, but it's like she's trying to be a female Mayweather, and I like someone to have their own identity.
Yeah,
and Layla was such a pioneer in the sport. I love Layla, but I don't follow. I do follow, but I don't really look into it too much now.
Yeah, I would have loved to have fought Layla. She'd retired by the time I started, but she was always, even to the point I would have loved to have jumped in and had a sparring session with her or something. It would have been awesome. I would have. Yeah. My career like goal was to obviously meet Muhammad, but that didn't eventuate. But this is the thing, the greats in their time, and this is the same with MMA. Layla was great in her time, and even previous MMA champions back in their day were great for that day. Even Ronda Rousey, BJ Penn, in their era. George, but they were great in their time, but I think that athletes have just evolved so much now. Clarissa is,
dynamite.
Sorry?
She's dynamite. She's very good.
Yeah. I don't particularly like the stuff that comes out of her mouth. And this is the thing with fighting. You do have to be confident and somewhat on yourself. And but yeah, I'm just like me personally. I like the humble road.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's what's getting her noticed. And you know, she says all these out there things, and she's always in the media, and that's what you need to, I guess, be someone that people want to pay attention to. But yeah, I'd rather have people that like me, not want me to want to watch me fight to watch me.
Well, last and most important question: who wins in a street fight, striker or takedown?
Oh shit! Is a striker someone that moves, or are they just going to stand there and bang?
Yeah. I reckon a banger.
Oh.
Good on his feet. Just lets him go. Knows a bit of takedown defense. Someone like myself.
I like to think, I mean, I've watched my fair share of street fights and stuff too. All it takes is if you can land that first one before they grab onto you, then you know, they're going down. But yeah. And then for
answer the question. Come on, stop tiptoeing around it.
striker.
Yes. Good way to finish. Arlene, I thank you for the over an hour that we've had on this show. Look, I wish you nothing but the best. Hopefully get you on again soon. Let's hope this Cris Cyborg fight comes off. You do have the style to really make the world be on notice. Yeah, again, let's talk after this as well. And you've got so much to give, not just to sport, but to female sports in general. I hope media get behind you and the people get behind you. Good luck in everything you do, and I'll be chatting to you soon, okay?
Thank you so much.
No worries, buddy. Take care. Thank you so much. Speak to you. Bye.